Yeah. Welcome to the room, take a breath, drop the weight. You've been carrying the world like it never learned your name. I know the smile on the outside, the storm you keep hid, the bills, the grief, the pressure, all the things you never said. But listen, I've seen warriors build from a broken day, turn a scar into a map and a hard no into a way. From the barracks to the boardroom, from the block to the base. If you still got a pulse, baby, you still got a place. This is the reset, reset, reset. Shake the dust off your chest, let it all get checked. You don't need permission to rise from the wreck. One deep breath, one step. That's the reset, 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 reset. When the mind gets loud, we bring the truth back in effect. You are not your worst day, you the bounce back flex. Stand tall, come alive. That's the reset. Yeah. Yeah. Talk to the sleepless, the tired, the I'm fine crowd. The nurses, the truckers, the moms, the soldiers holding ground. The vets with the silence, the kids trying to be men. The women with 100 jobs and nobody checking in. You can heal in the dark, you can start where you stand. A journal, a prayer, a call, a clean slate in your hands. Don't let shame run the tape, don't let fear get the wheel. You were built for the rebuild, you were made to get real. So breathe in, breathe out, let the old story fall. You can break, you can bend, but you still answer the call. From the hurt to the hope, from the loss to the light. We don't quit in the morning, we reset and we fight. This is the reset, reset, reset. Shake the dust off your chest, let it all get checked. You don't need permission to rise from the wreck. One deep breath, one step. This the reset, 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 reset. When the mind gets loud, we bring the truth back in effect. You are not your worst day, you the bounce back flex. Stand tall, come alive. That's the reset. For the ones still standing, for the ones still growing, for the hearts that got heavy but kept on going. Dr.J on the mic and the message is set. Heal loud, rise proud. That's the reset. That's the reset. That's the reset. That's the reset. Yeah. 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 Welcome to the room, take a breath, drop the weight. You've been carrying the world like it never learned your name. I know the smile on the outside, the storm you keep hid, the bills, the grief.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my show. Welcome to the reset. I just need to check my mic and then we can get started. I know there's a little delay when I start streaming, so I'm like, let me give it a second. Okay. I think we're good. Okay. Let me know if y'all can't hear me though. Drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. I like to know who's in the room. But welcome to the reset with Dr. J, where we take those WTF moments and we turn them into breakthroughs. I'm Dr. Arielle Jordan. I am your host, Army veteran, therapist, and today I want to ask you something. What questions have been running in the back of your head lately? And I'm not talking about the practical ones, like not did I send that email or what's for dinner, the quiet ones that we may not necessarily share. Like, am I enough? Why can't I get it together? Shouldn't I be further along by now? I hear that one a lot. I ask myself that sometimes. What if I fail? You know, those type of questions. We carry those around like they just belong to us, like we came up with them ourselves. But here's what I keep seeing. After years of sitting with people through some really hard stuff, the problem usually isn't the answer, it's the question. And so today I want to look at some of those questions. Okay. So before we get started, quick reminder, I am a therapist, but I'm not your therapist. This is a conversation, not treatment. But if you're in crisis, I do need you to call 988. It's for mental health. It's for support. It's for if you don't have anybody, but you need to talk to somebody right now. Someone will answer. You can also text. And also, if you're military or military community, 988 plus 1. That will get you where you need to go as far as somebody who is trained in military culture. So don't go without help. You don't have to. All right. That's my disclaimer. So if you're here tuning in, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. I know my chat wasn't working last time. So let's see if it'll work this time. If I see some stuff pop up, I'll shout y'all out. All right. So let me go ahead and set the stage. All right. So here's the thing about your brain. It's going to answer whatever question that you keep asking it. So if you are feeding your brain a bad question, I wouldn't be surprised if you get an answer that you don't like or that feels bad, right? So that's what we're going to get into a little bit more today. So research on predictive processing, one of the more like well-supported ideas in neuroscience right now, it shows that your brain starts paying more attention to evidence that fits the question that you already asked. So it's not neutral. It's more of like, I'm going to answer whatever you just asked me. So it's scanning for like what you told it to look for. So I found that fascinating because, what questions are we asking ourselves as we're just like, we don't even realize it. It's just like autopilot throughout our day. So keep asking yourself. You keep asking yourself, why does nothing ever work out for me? And then your brain gets some really good examples at finding it, and it's not because nothing works out. It's because that's the assignment that you gave it. So you asked your brain, why does nothing ever work out for me? And then now your brain is going to go off and find some examples of why nothing ever works out for you. It's not true, but it's the question that we're asking. I hope that makes sense. If you're asking what's actually working right now, then it's going to go off and find that answer. So now your perspective has shifted a little bit. Same brain, same life, different question, different experience. So before we get into like the reframes, because that's what we're going to be doing today, let's play a quick game. So think about it this way: forward or backward. Those are your options. Okay? A forward question moves you towards something. Opinion or options, clarity, and a next step, let's say. Okay? So when you think about a forward question, it's moving me towards something. Okay? A backward question keeps you stuck scanning for something, and most likely that thing cannot be changed. So a backwards question, we're looking at stuff that can't be changed usually. So we're going to think of it that way, and I'm going to give y'all some examples, okay? So one question. Ready? Why am I like this? Backwards, right? What do I want to be different going forward? Forward. You hear the difference? Why does this keep happening to me? Backwards. What can I influence from here forward? Shouldn't I be further along by now? You guessed it. Hold on to it for a second. Shouldn't I be further along by now? Because that question right there might be very expensive if you're carrying it. But that is the backwards question. So I'm going to get into a couple of them, and then hopefully we'll start to think about it a little bit differently. So the first one, shouldn't I be further along by now? I want to start there because I don't know how many times I've heard that last week. Sorry, y'all know what I meant. Backwards. Backwards thinking. So last week, just throughout my work week, just in therapy sessions or just like speaking with people, the thought process of shouldn't I be further by now, even with myself, shouldn't I be further by now? It's not uncommon for that thought to come up. So I thought we should start there with that one being our first one. So I already told y'all I catch myself in that one sometimes. And I've recently done a TEDx talk, started a nonprofit. My private practice has been running for 3+ years. I found out my dissertation had been downloaded in over 50 countries. I think it was like 1,473 downloads. I sit with people through some of the hardest moments of their life, and my brain still whispers sometimes, you should be further along. Can anybody else relate? Because I know I'm not alone. Isn't that something? And when I actually stop and look at the question, I realize I'm not measuring it against anything real. I'm measuring it against like an imaginary version of my life that only exists in my head. Can we sit with that? Because some of you are trying to pass a test nobody signed you up for. I should own a house by now. I should have finished my degree by now. I should be making more money by now. I should have figured it out by now. Says who? Says who? We would never stand over a kid learning to walk and be like, you should be further along by now. We'd ask, compared to what? Somewhere along the way, we stopped extending that grace to ourselves. So I was looking at Kirsten Neff's research on self-compassion, and it shows that harsh self-judgment triggers a threat response in the brain. So your nervous system is reading it as danger, and under threat, your brain is going to focus on that protection and not the growth. So I found that fascinating. So literally, when we are judging ourselves harshly, the brain is thinking it's a threat, and then it's going to respond by protecting yourself, whatever that means, right? Because protection isn't always healthy, but we're not going to focus on the growth. So think about it. If somebody is like really judging themselves really harshly and they're like, oh gosh, I need a drink, it's protecting you from thinking about it, you know? So we're thinking about things as like what's healthy versus not healthy. But it's hard to think that way if your brain is, or your nervous system is reading it as a threat. So we have to be careful with that self-judgment. So I wanted to find some research behind that. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's a real thing. The question that's supposed to push you forward is actually slowing you down. Don't let your brain bully you. Your brain says you're behind. Behind who? On whose timeline? Let's think about that. So here's the forward version. What have I actually built, and what is the next right step? So you're not letting yourself off the hook. That's not what we're doing here. But it's giving your brain something real to work with instead of comparison to something that doesn't really exist. Let's reset that. I should be so much further than this. What is the reset? The question. What have I actually built? And what's one real step from here? Before you move on, just give yourself credit for like one thing. Just one. Because your brain is going to answer, whatever question that you keep asking it. So let's make it a good one. So that's reset number 1. Reset number 2, why can't I get it together? Who has experienced that? Who has asked themselves that question? Why can't I get it together? So think about it. Who told you that? Because that question already has a verdict in it before you even try to answer it. It assumes something is already broken. It assumes there's a standard that you're failing. And so your brain starts scanning for every piece of evidence that supports that. Every time you forgot something, every time you fell short, every time you didn't show up the way that you planned to show up. And it's not because you can't get it together, but that's the question that you gave it. So I'm going to give you some more research. Martin, I hope I say his name right. Seligman, his research. I'm going to spell it for y'all just in case y'all want to look it up. Seligman. His research, Martin. It's on explanatory style. It found how we explain our struggles to ourselves directly impacts our resilience. So, people who frame difficulty as personal and permanent tend to stay there longer. And that's real. So if we're thinking, I can't get it together, and that's personal and it's permanent, rather than like, what's actually getting in my way right now? That one is specific and it's solvable, and it turns the conversation into something different. Think about that. I worked with a veteran once who kept asking himself like why he couldn't adjust to the civilian life. He's 2 years out and felt like, I'm just failing at everything. The moment that we changed, like we started to think about like, what could we change? The moment that we changed the question to what's actually making this hard made the conversation shift. So it turns out the structure was gone. The sense of mission had changed. And he hadn't had a like real peer group since getting out. And so if you've served, sometimes that feels very relatable. Like we have structure from the moment that we wake up until the moment that we lay our head down. Most of the time, right? There's always a mission. Even if that first mission is getting up and doing some morning PT, it's something, and also you're surrounded by your people, people with the same mission as you, people with the same structure as you. So when all of that is gone, of course, we're going to have an issue here. It's going to be an adjustment. So it's not a character flaw. And this is a specific situation with specific gaps that could actually be addressed. So we have to kind of look at it that way. The question he'd been asking kept pointing to him as a problem. And so when you think about it, that's why we feel bad. If I'm asking a question that makes me a problem, I'm going to feel like a problem, right? So we have to kind of think about it that way. The new question actually helped him see the actual problem. Again, don't let your brain bully you, okay? Your brain says you can't get it together. That's not a fact. It's a story. So let's reset that. Why can't I get it together? What is the reset? It's what's specifically getting in my way right now. And what's one thing that I can actually do about it? And now your brain starts to think differently. It's going to answer whatever question you keep asking it. That's reset number 2. Let's move on to reset number 3. Who else has been getting their butt kicked by pollen? Because this has nothing to do with the show, but I have been getting my butt kicked by pollen the last few days, and I feel it now, which I'm really glad that I brought some tea. So, super helpful. All right, let's get into number 3. All right, this one's going to call some of us out, okay? The question is, when will I finally feel ready? Some of us have been getting ready for so long that we've accidentally made that a hobby. If you've been getting ready for 3 years, you might not be getting ready anymore. You might just be comfortable. Let's sit with that. Now I'm gonna bring y'all to some more research. Okay, so Albert Bandura's research on self-efficacy is pretty clear on this. He says that confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Yes. How many times have you not I think the same thing about motivation. How many times have you not wanted to go to the gym, but then you go and then you end up doing more than you thought you were going to do in the first place? It wasn't motivation that did that, or maybe the motivation came afterwards. So back to Albert. So from small moments where you tried something and it worked well enough for your brain to just file it away as proof that you could do hard things. That's where that confidence comes from. So keep that in mind. Waiting to feel ready before you act is waiting for an outcome that only comes from acting. So if we're waiting for that, it's we're going to keep waiting, right? I launched my nonprofit, The Jordan Effect, before I felt ready. I stepped onto the TEDx stage before I felt ready. I started the show before I felt ready. Shout out to the great team we have at W.T.F Nation Radio, because they really pour into you, and so they're like, hey, listen, you can do this, and actually this is going well, and maybe you could do something here, and they're just so welcoming, so warm, and if y'all listening, thank y'all. But it makes you feel like, wait a minute, you can do this. And not only can you do this, but we got your back. So I love that. But the readiness came from doing it, and maybe it's not even full readiness, but it came from doing it. It didn't stop me. I did not do it. We'd never tell someone in training, wait until you're ready to train. The readiness comes from doing it. Somewhere we lost that logic when it comes to some things in our own lives. Don't let your brain bully you. Your brain said you weren't ready last year too. Let's reset that. So I'm just not ready. That's the thought process. The reset. What's the smallest step I can take this week before that feeling shows up? What's the smallest step I can take? That's a question we can be ready to answer, right? We're not looking at the whole thing. We're looking at one step. The brain is going to answer whatever question you keep asking it. That's reset number 3. So the fourth one Why is this so hard? If you've ever asked yourself that, you're not alone. Why is this so hard? A lot of people ask that question. Now, this isn't always a wrong question, right? Sometimes things are genuinely hard for real reasons. So we'll leave space for that, right? Those reasons are worth understanding. So we're not taking away from the things that are actually, really hard and really challenging. It's not what I'm saying. A lot of times, though, this question is just confirming a story that your brain has already decided was true. So that's what we want to look at. So here's what I want you to look at. Underneath, why is this so hard? There's usually a story running. People don't like me, or people like me don't succeed at this. Or every time I try, something goes wrong. Or I've never been good under pressure. Whatever comes up. Think about that. These stories are not facts. These stories are not facts. They're just not. They're interpretations. So it's usually built from a few experiences where your brain generalizes into a rule about how life works. Here's a better question. What am I making this mean? Your friend doesn't text you back. What are you making this mean? Your boss said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" What are you making this mean? You didn't get the job. What are you making that mean? Because your brain isn't just recording what happens to you. It's constantly making meaning out of it too. So based on that past experience, based on what it's been primed to expect, it is making those interpretations, which means those interpretations can be examined, sometimes updated. So brain myth or brain fact? Your thoughts accurately reflect reality. Brain myth, right? Our thoughts don't always accurately reflect reality. Your brain's thoughts, sometimes it's the interpretation of reality based on what it's been through. Useful and imperfect at the same time. Don't let your brain bully you. Your brain says this is just how things are. That's an interpretation, not a verdict. Let's reset that. This is just too hard for me. The reset. What am I making this mean? And is this actually true? Your brain is going to answer whatever question you keep asking it. That's reset number 4. The 5th one, and I save this one for last. How do I get back to who I used to be? I understand this one from the inside. After loss, after service, after a hard season that changed things, that's a real pull towards wanting to feel like yourself again. When I lost my daughter to a congenital heart disease, I was not the same person as I was before. And for a stretch, I kept trying to find my way back to who I was. But that version of me didn't know what I know now. It didn't have what I've built since. The loss didn't just take something, it also built something. And I couldn't see that for a while because I kept trying to go backwards. I kept thinking, I gotta get back to who I was, not acknowledging that with that tremendous amount of pain or that tremendous change in life or that tremendous loss, not gonna be the same anymore. Trauma does that to us. It changes us. But also, we still can continue to change. So I take my loss and I build from it. So let me go back to the research with y'all. Psychologists, oh my goodness, these names, y'all. To I'm gonna just spell it Tedeschi, Tedeschi, and Calhoun studied something called post-traumatic growth. The idea that genuine psychological change can come from actually engaging with those hard experiences, not avoiding them. So this is something that I talked about in my TEDx too, which I can't wait till that becomes public because I can share that with you all. But growth doesn't come from going backwards. It comes from like integrating what happened and moving forward with more than what you came in with. So everything I've built since losing Jordan, it's my daughter, the show, The Jordan Effect, which I named after her, the work that I do with veterans and first responders, it's all built forward. Not because the grief stopped or the pain stopped. It's because I stopped trying to go back to who I was. I started to integrate that pain and the loss and the tragedy and started to grow from it. So our grief is not going to go away. I'm not going to paint an unrealistic picture. It's still there, but we grow around it. Don't let your brain bully you. The brain says the best version of you is behind you. That's not true. That's fear. Let's reset that. Going back to, I just want to feel like myself again. Again, been there. But the reset. Who am I becoming? What is one thing that I can do today that's in alignment with that person, who I'm becoming? And your brain is going to answer whatever question you keep asking it. That's reset number 5. So, I think I gave y'all enough to chew on. And I hope I picked some good ones because I just kept hearing some of the same things and then also adding a little bit of my experience as well. So, think about it this week. What's one thing that you could do for yourself? You can catch one question. I gave just a few examples. I'm sure there are more. One question that you've been asking yourself for a while now, and ask, is this question actually taking me where I want to go? If it's not, find the forward version. So remember, in the beginning, we talked about forward and we talked about backwards questioning. If you don't remember, go ahead and rewind, catch the replay, whatever you need to do, right? Because I think this method is so helpful for a lot of folks, especially since our brain is going to answer that question anyway. That's what I want you to leave here with today. You can't always choose the first question that your brain asks, right? Sometimes that's automatic. Sometimes it's been there so long, it's like, it's just coming out, right? But you can choose whether it's the one that you answer, right? You can choose a different question to ask. Because now, you know what the great Dr. Maya Angelou, part of her quote says, when we know better, we do better. What are you going to do better? That's the reset. Just because your brain, excuse me, just because your brain asked the question doesn't mean you have to spend the next 6 hours answering it. Don't let your brain bully you. Your brain is going to answer whatever question you keep asking. So choose a good one. Everything I do is at bio.ariellejordan.com. All of my clinical work, EMDR training for clinicians, my nonprofit, The Jordan Effect, which focuses on mental health support for veterans, first responders, and underserved communities. If you want to learn more, go ahead and, do my site, find me out, look at my research. If you want to connect, W.T.F Nation Radio. If you want to catch some of the other shows, they have shows every day of the week. So go ahead and check them out. On my outro page, you'll see the shows and see what your interests are. Go ahead and pick those. They're great shows, great hosts, great people. Take care of yourself this week. Resilience is not optional. It is the mission. I'm Dr. J, and you got this. This is the Reset with Dr. J, where we take those WTF moments and we turn them into breakthroughs. Have a good day, y'all.
Yeah. Welcome to the room, take a breath, drop the weight. You've been carrying the world like it never learned your name. I know the smile on the outside, the storm you keep hid, the bills, the grief, the pressure, all the things you never said. But listen, I've seen warriors build from a broken day, turn a scar into a map and a hard no into a way. From the barracks to the boardroom, from the block to the base. If you still got a pulse, baby, you still got a place. This is the reset, reset, reset. Shake the dust off your chest, let it all get checked. You don't need permission to rise from the wreck. One deep breath, one step. That's the reset, 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 reset. When the mind gets loud, we bring the truth back in effect. You are not your worst day. You the bounce back, flex, stand tall, come alive. That's the reset. Yeah. Yeah. Talk to the sleepless, the tired, the I'm fine crowd. The nurses, the truckers, the moms, the soldiers holding ground. The vets with the silence, the kids trying to be men. The women with 100 jobs and nobody checking in. You can heal in the dark, you can start where you stand. A journal, a prayer, a call, a clean slate in your hands. Don't let shame run the tape, don't let fear get the wheel. You were built for the rebuild, you were made to get real. So breathe in, breathe out, let the old story fall. You can break, you can bend, but you still answer the call. From the hurt to the hope, from the loss to the light. We don't quit in the morning, we reset and we fight. This is the reset, reset, reset. Shake the dust off your chest, let it all get checked. You don't need permission to rise from the wreck. One deep breath, one step. This the reset, 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 reset. When the mind gets loud, we bring the truth back in effect. You are not your worst day, you the bounce back, flex, stand tall, come alive. That's the reset. For the ones still standing, for the ones still growing, for the hearts that got heavy but kept on going. Dr. J on the mic and the message is set. Heal loud, rise proud. That's the reset.